Why not just move on, perhaps run for Senate, as you say, but why stick so much to the argument that the election was stolen when, again, there is no evidence?
From your perspective, how does the public perceive you? How does that kind of influence how you go about your media work and other things? So why do you think it is that, your candidacy is resonating so much with everyone, but specifically Gen Z?
And I mean, what do you say to people who say that there is a moral equivalency, so to speak, between what Hamas did on October the 7th and then the response that Israel has initiated?
What do you think each candidate kind of has to prove in order to walk away claiming victory after that debate?
So I guess how do you as Prime Minister kind of balance such a polarizing issue, not just within your caucus, but within the country?
How can we lower the deficit without basically making middle income Canadians have to pay for it?
Some people are blaming it on the media, while others are saying that really it's the fault of the Democratic Party and staffers within the White House. What's kind of your calculation at this point?
So what can people maybe do in the short term to improve their overall health?
How much of a spoiler will RFK actually be? What, from your perspective, did you do that he wasn't already, anticipating when you committed to joining the platform? Good evening. The airline's 10,000 flight attendants had been ordered to return to work this afternoon, but the union has now refused, vowing to challenge the ruling. The move is prompting Air Canada to cancel hundreds of additional flights. The Trump administration slapped a Canadian judge on the International Criminal Court with sanctions as the U.S. State Department continues to push back on the tribunal.
Tonight, actually, with breaking news, as the Prime Minister has announced that he will resign, we are getting continued reaction tonight to the announcement by the Prime Minister.
What are you looking out for?
Yeah, I think certainly each candidate kind of has, what they need to do set out for them. And for President Trump, as an example, that's kind of proving that he's going to be able to govern effectively, despite obviously the conviction and some of the legal troubles that he's facing.
I think Donald Trump saying that he wants Canada to be the 51st state, even he, I think, recognizes that constitutionally for both Canada and the United States, it's very unlikely. In Canada, anyways, in order for that to happen, it would have to get approved by Parliament. They would have to agree to dissolve the federal government. And then, of course, there would have to be a referendum amongst Canadian citizens where they would have to vote a majority in order for that to happen. And at least polls are right now in Canada, the vast majority of Canadians are not looking for that to happen.
And I was one of those many people.
Kind of use those connections to ultimately formulate new connections and be able to speak with those who are in even greater positions of power. The spin room, which is where I am right now, you see all of the media is gathered, and then kind of like a red carpet style almost they'll be walking through afterwards. So that part is a kind of, I guess, what you're referencing, holding out the microphone, hoping they stop and answer some questions.
Let's talk now with our favorite Canadian political analyst, the TV host, 16-year-old Wyatt Sharpe, who's back in the show. You know what's great, Wyatt, about having you back is I don't have to every single time be, oh, he's so young and he's so great. Now I can just talk to you like any guest because you're as good as any of the other guests we have on. So tell us what we should know about this guy, Carney.
Yeah, I think right now what you're seeing in Canada, particularly from the Liberals, is an opportunity to try and disassociate, so to speak, from Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau has been Prime Minister now for 10 years, since 2015, and what you're seeing is a certain type of apathy towards him.
Yeah, good evening to you. It's certainly been a very busy week in Washington.
I'm here at the White House where President Trump is focusing on a number of different issues, of course, crime in the District of Columbia.
We are here in the spin room of the presidential debate. We've been talking to a number of different advisors to both of the campaigns, although after what some are deeming a poor performance for President Biden tonight, the Biden campaign has been a little more hesitant to kind of openly release surrogates into the spin room to speak to the media.
Young voters, what are you hearing from them ahead of this debate?
Yeah, certainly, Travis, at least the majority of the polls are suggesting right now that the vast majority of Americans don't really want either President Trump or President Biden to be the nominee. And yet, of course, here we are still. I mean, a lot of Americans are looking for an alternative. They're looking for kind of a new generation of leadership.
Catherine McKenna, who was the former infrastructure minister, former environment minister, she was actually almost put directly in the Carleton riding to campaign exclusively for Bruce Fanjoy. Bruce Fanjoy has been doing a lot of national media as well, a riding where the Liberal, and he's ran for the party before in the riding of Carleton, both federally and provincially. And so it's interesting to kind of see this dynamic and to see the fact that, a few weeks ago, it wouldn't have been very likely, or people wouldn't even be talking about the fact that it's considerable that Bruce Fanjoy might even have a chance at winning in that riding.
Thank you for that, Wyatt.
Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre, François Blanchet, and Jagmeet Singh, all of them kind of have, what they need to do tonight laid out for them. For Mark Carney, that's proving why the Liberals should be able to govern after being in charge for 10 years. For Pierre Poilievre, the question is he too similar to Donald Trump?